is a special presentation of HBO Sports.
It's a high-stakes chess match for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, a game Lennox Lewis has been playing for nearly 2 years. It began with a second-round knockout of Razor Rush, Halloween '92. The victory supposedly guaranteed Lewis a meeting with the winner of the title bout between Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe. Never could Lewis have anticipated the move that would follow. After Bowe beat Holyfield and became the undisputed champion, rather than to honor the agreement to fight Lewis, Bowe chose to throw away the WBC belt. That move not only gave Lewis the WBC title, but gave Bowe the opportunity to maneuver away from Lennox.
Stokes virtually out on his feet. And the left hook lands and Ferguson goes down.
As Bowe avoided him, Lewis fought on.
A frozen Frank Bruno is there taking punishment. And Mickey Van is going to stop it.
Finally, on November 6, Lewis found himself in position to unify the title when Holyfield defeated Bowe to reclaim 2 heavyweight belts. But in this game, you can never predict your opponent's next move, particularly when it's controlled by a governing body, who threatened to strip Holyfield of his titles unless he fought the #1 contender, Michael Moorer. When Holyfield lost, Lewis again found himself without a move. There still looms a fight with Bowe and later Michael Moorer. But before this match can come to an end, Lewis must defeat tonight's opponent, the WBC's new #1 contender, Oliver McCall.
Enough with the games, mate. You're messing with the Grand Master.
Live from London, England, HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing as WBC World Heavyweight Champion Lennox Lewis defends his title against the #1 ranked contender, American Oliver McCall, here in London at 1 o'clock in the morning in the Wembley Arena before a smaller than hoped-for crowd of about 4,000 people. Lennox Lewis prepares to defend the championship he was given by the WBC 2 years ago against an American who has surprisingly made his way to the forefront of the heavyweight rankings, the heretofore little-known Oliver McCall. Hello again, I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome to this chapter of HBO's World Championship Boxing as we continue to follow the career of the first English heavyweight champion in a century, the man who has held the WBC title for 2 years ever since it was given to him when Riddick Bowe refused to face Lennox Lewis. Lewis goes for his 4th title defense tonight. He is favored, but perhaps not quite as heavily favored as we might have anticipated, against American Oliver McCall. Here with me, as always, HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, the fact that Lennox is favored by only about 4-1 is a mark of the degree to which he's been excoriated over the past couple of years by American boxing writers. He doesn't get that much more credit here on his side of the ocean in England. The smallish crowd, an indication of the degree to which he's not taken seriously by boxing fans. How is it that a guy could hold a heavyweight championship for 2 years, as Lewis has, defend it successfully 3 times, as he has, and still not have made it to superstar status?
What's it all about, Alfie?
That's what I was asking, yeah.
Well, all I can figure out about the British is that they've been forced to root for gallant losers for so long that they don't know how to treat a winner. And we, of course, think that we own the heavyweight championship, so that if a foreigner borrows it for a while, we think he has to be not just a champion, but a great champion, a Winston Churchill of champions. Or else we're going to dismiss him as an imposter. Also, we like fighters who are gallant winners, risk takers, and that's not Lennox Lewis's style. Lennox Lewis is an unorthodox, sometimes awkward, safety first counterpuncher. And that kind of fighter is hard to love. And if he can punch like Lennox Lewis, he's even harder to fight, which is why he is where he is. This much we do know. For decades, American heavyweights have been devouring British heavyweights. And Lennox Lewis has now been devouring ours. And tonight he figures to make a late meal, of yet another one.
Indeed, if he isn't looking ahead to his potential upcoming bout with Riddick Bowe, part of the Holy Grail for Lewis, a fight tentatively set for March. Normally our third voice tonight would be that of former heavyweight champion George Foreman, but as most of you boxing fans know, George is training in Malibu for his November 5 challenge against Michael Moorer for the other two-thirds of the heavyweight championship, those belts controlled by the WBA and the IBF. So it's our privilege to work again with the legendary fight trainer and manager Gil Clancy. Gil, let's talk about McCall first. What chance does he have of unseating Lewis?
Well, McCall is a strong game guy, has good stamina, but most important, he takes a good punch. And if a heavyweight can hang in there and don't get knocked out, he always has a chance. But offensively, I don't see too much. He has a fair jab and a clubbing right hand, and I don't see anything else.
This is the first opportunity we've had to work with you on a Lennox Lewis bout. Your take on Lewis?
Well, Lewis seems to have every advantage in this fight. He's a much better boxer. His jab is better. He's a harder puncher. The only thing that might be a question mark is the stamina if it goes into the late rounds.
All right, more about Lennox Lewis from Gil Clancy, of course, as the evening goes on. It's been quite an experience for Lewis, born in Jamaica, reared in Canada, fighting here for Great Britain as an English heavyweight champion because, he was born here in London before living in Jamaica. But despite the fact that he wants to be seen as a British heavyweight champion, in most quarters, he is still a question mark in that regard. For more on the multinational experience of this heavyweight champ, we turn to Sky Television's Gary Norman for another point of view.
Whose soccer team didn't make the World Cup finals and who hasn't had a Wimbledon men's singles champion over 50 years, to have the world heavyweight boxing champion is unprecedented. Lennox Lewis is the first man to achieve that for Great Britain in over 100 years. So really we should put him on a pedestal and honour him. But we don't. The jury is out on Lennox Lewis. People close to the sport of boxing and the man and woman on the street are definitely divided in their opinion of him.
An Olympic gold medal for Canada, a world heavyweight title for Great Britain. Is it a question of patriotism, of where you were born, or is it purely a question of money?
To put it mildly, he's an opportunist. He turned professional and he looked around. There was nothing that could be done for him at Canada. They hardly run any professional shows there. He would be considered a foreigner in America trying to make his way. So he decided to become an Englishman, which was apparently his original birthright, and he came here and decided to cash in on being an Englishman.
You could forgive a rival promoter for being jealous. There's a lot of money to be made from a heavyweight champion. So what does Lennox say about the transformation?
I could have fought in America, but I think this is something that I wanted to do because of the fact I grew up in East London, from England, and it was just the best route for me to take.
When Lewis fought Bruno, the British public was split in who to support. Many got behind the true Brit, Bruno. And even though Lewis won, doubts still exist about the champion.
It depends which people doubt it. If it's other people in boxing, that's only a pure jealousy factor. The average guy out on the street recognises Lennox Lewis for what he is. An English guy that's become world heavyweight champion, the first one in 100 years, and probably the only one.
So is Frank Maloney right? Are the public 100% behind their champion? This is Berwick Street, a market in the heart of London, and a good place to ask the British public what they think.
He's not really been brought up in this country, and he's a Canadian.
He was born and bred in this country, so I think he's entitled to fight in this country.
It's difficult to describe him as British as he spent so much time abroad in Canada.
I think he's made his decision. He wants to be over here and he fights for England.
Lennox Lewis, just, in my eyes, he's just going where the money's going. And he ain't doing nothing for England at all.
He comes from West Ham, East End boy. If you're born somewhere, that's where you are. That's where you come from.
I think he's fighting under a flag of convenience.
This quote incensed many when it was printed in Esquire magazine. And remember too that he was in Jamaica, not England, when he was officially announced WBC champion. In reply to the question, why aren't you here, he said,
"Ain't I entitled one little holiday?"
Now you must remember that people in the public eye will forever be criticised, and Lewis is no exception. But he doesn't spend enough of his leisure time in these shores, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Lewis doesn't work hard, I don't think, at promoting his image. I know he's had criticism from the likes of Don King that Lewis doesn't attend press conferences, doesn't feature. He certainly initially worked very hard in England to try and win over the British public when he was climbing the steps. But now he's got there, all of a sudden it's a different kettle of fish. We don't see him over here.
Well, there you have it. Just how patriotic is Lennox Lewis. I think the quote, "I like England, I love Canada," sums a lot of it up. Canada is where he was raised, England is where he does his business. But for me, I'm proud of what he's done for this country. In my eyes, Lennox Lewis is as British as the Houses of Parliament, Tower Bridge, the changing of the guard, and you can't get any more English than the epitome of Englishness itself, James Bond. I'll let you think about that one for a while.
Clever enough, Gary. The subtle reference there. If Irishman Pierce Brosnan lives at the doorstep of Hollywood, he does so because that's where the money is. And Larry, if Lennox Lewis fights in the name of commerce, he isn't the first fighter to do it.
Not at all. In fact, Tommy Burt, the last British heavyweight champion back at the start of the century, fled England early in his life, and when he came here, he had a fight here, and he stood at the turnstile. He demanded that there should be one turnstile, counted everybody who came in, insisted on getting paid before he went to fight. So this has been going on for a long time.
It's the sad fact of Lewis's appeal here that if he had wanted to count every spectator here tonight, he might have had time to do it himself. Tail of the tape between these two fighters, and you'll see that they are both 29 years old. The champion enjoys 3 inches in height, 6 3/4 pounds in weight, and 8 inches in reach advantage. Punch that numbers, Larry.
Here's a look at how active the fighters are and how accurate they are, and the numbers speak for themselves. They both throw about the same amount of punches per round. Lewis is the more accurate puncher. And the jabs tell the story. Lewis throws far many more jabs, lands far many more jabs to set up his big right hand. Harold Letterman, the rules, please.
Lennox Lewis and Oliver McCall will box tonight using the rules of the World Boxing Council. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. You can be saved by the bell in the last round only. Only the referee can stop the fight, and in case a cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, and that cut causes the fight to be stopped, we go to the scorecards after 3 rounds have been completed. Before that, it's a technical draw. Jim.
All right, thanks very much, Harold. The first man to enter the ring, according to the fight schedule we've been given, would be challenger Oliver McCall. And we are anticipating potentially some gamesmanship on the part of McCall, who might try to make Lewis wait just a little bit. But now the good news is that the Atomic Bull, as Oliver McCall is known, will exit from his dressing room and make his way to the ring right now. He lives in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but fights out of Chicago, Illinois. And as you can see, it's the first championship fight for the man promoted by Don King. Perhaps his biggest claim to fame, Larry. He was a sparring partner, reportedly the preferred sparring partner of Mike Tyson during Tyson's early years as heavyweight champion, and he is reported to have once decked Tyson in a sparring session.
And to have sparred with Tyson for some 300 rounds and been his best sparring partner. So I assume if this fight were held in a gymnasium tonight, Joe, he would be the favorite.
No, I've seen a lot of guys like that, Larry. They look great in their sparring. You get them a fight, a regular fight, and something leaves them.
We'll see how he does under the big lights. But he is what I call as good or maybe the best of the rest. After Michael Moore, Lennox Lewis, and Riddick Bowe, there are a lot of heavyweights out there of about equal ability, and he's about as good as any of them. It's not unusual for a fighter of his caliber to get a championship shot. What is unusual is that somebody like that should be required to fight for the heavyweight championship by somehow mysteriously being ranked as the top contender.
He likes to point out that he's never been knocked out in 29 fights, says he's never been decked either. The biggest credential in getting him here, an April 23, 1993, 8th round technical knockout of the Italian Francesco Damiani. Since then, he is very lightly experienced, having had only 2 one-round knockouts against fighters named Art Card and Dan Murphy in the last 17 months.
That's a little strange to me. I mean, Art Card and Dan Murphy, to talk about one-round knockout records, if I can remember these guys, most of them haven't gone more than 1 round.
Partisan English crowd supporting Lewis and booing McCall as he enters the ring. And you take a look at the record: 24 wins, 5 losses. The losses were to fighters named Joey Christian, Mike the Bounty Hunter, Buster Douglas, Orlin Norris, and Tony Tucker. Tony Tucker was one of the 3 men whom Lennox Lewis has vanquished in title defenses since having been given the WBC Heavyweight Championship. That was a 12-round decision in Las Vegas in May of 1993. Now Lewis prepares to enter the ring. Since the Tucker fight, Lewis had the 7th round technical knockout over Frank Bruno in Cardiff, Wales last October 1, and the 8th round TKO of Phil Jackson May 6 of this year in Atlantic City. Both times he prevailed by knockout. Both times he was roundly denigrated, particularly by American boxing writers, Larry, who are not convinced.
Keep it going, keep it going. Some fighters have a style and a personality that it takes a long time to get recognition. They have to keep winning. Larry Holmes is a perfect example of that. It's unusual to have a Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali who have the kind of extraordinary projection of themselves as prize fighters that people immediately respond to them.
You know, Jim, I had mentioned that Oliver McCall had great stamina, but the way he's hyped up now, he may be using up about 3 or 4 rounds right now.
Lewis's beginning stage dreadlock hairdo is a new accessory for him. It portrays an introductory interest in Rastafarian lifestyle and culture, which he says he's going to be pursuing as time goes on. Record for Lennox Lewis: 25 wins, no losses, 21 wins by knockout, including 2 of the 3 title defenses.
Jim, it looks to me that Oliver McCall is so emotional that he's crying.
I had the exact same feeling. He's trying to either he's trying to screw up his courage or trying to make himself feel that he's in something big and that he has to do, but I think he's wasting energy here.
That's exactly what I said.
As you observe McCall, we go up to ring announcer Mike Goodall for the pre-fight introductions.
Exclusively live on the Wire TV throughout Great Britain and HBO throughout the United States, this is the main event of the evening from Britain's most famous sporting complex of Wembley, which tonight hosts the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. This championship contest has been sanctioned and is being conducted under the jurisdiction of the World Boxing Council, represented at ringside by their supervisor for the contest, Mr. Houchin Houichi from Tunisia. The officials appointed for this contest are the doctors at ringside, Dr. Stephen Shapiro and Dr. Mohammed. The British Boxing Board steward in charge, Mr. John Clifford. The timekeeper, Mr. Tom Rice of London. The judges at ringside, Mr. Kim J. Bong of Korea, Pino Freire of Italy, Franz Marti of Switzerland, and the referee in charge of the action, in charge of his 12th World Championship title, Mr. Jose Guadalupe Garcia of Mexico City. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Maloney for Panix Promotions and Main Events in association with Budweiser, the King of Beers and the Sunday Express newspaper proudly present a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Introducing the boxers in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with gold waistband, fighting from Chicago, Illinois, and representing Don King's Productions, comes the challenger for the title, ranked #1 by the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF. He comes to the ring tonight with a professional record of 24 victories, 17 by KO, and has just 5 losses in his 29-fight career. He weighs 231 1/4 pounds, 16 stone, 7 1/4. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall. And in the red corner, wearing black trunks with red trim, fighting out of his native East London, he is a former Olympic gold medalist whose professional record is undefeated in 25 contests, 21 coming by way of knockout. Tonight, he is making his 4th defense of the title. He comes to the ring weighing 238 pounds, 17 stone even. He is the former undefeated heavyweight champion of Great Britain, the Commonwealth, and Europe. He is the WBC Heavyweight Champion of the world, Lennox Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world.
McCall. Gil, McCall looked almost as if his head was ready to explode.
Well, McCall's gone to his corner now, has apparently forgotten about referee's instructions or doesn't want to participate in them.
Come on here, McCall. Come on here.
Still doesn't want to participate in referee's instructions.
Very, very strange. I've seen a lot of fights. I haven't seen this before.
Well, he's never had a big occasion like that, and he understandably is a little bit involved with everything else.
And you know, Larry, he was so wound up, and I noticed that Lennox Lewis didn't seem to me to even break a sweat in the dressing room. So I think the first round is very important.
So what do you think? Advantage Lewis?
First round is going to be a very important round. First round advantage McCall, despite the fact that he looks like a nervous wreck to me. When you have that nervous energy early, Jim, the first round can be very important.
Last second delay, a towel draped across the ropes just above our announced position here. So after some unusual moments, and they seem to crop up in every heavyweight championship fight, here we go. Lewis standing like a statue, much as he did at the beginning of his flawed defense against Bruno a year ago. Lewis's most ardent supporters want to see him move, jab, and box, use his extraordinary athletic talent. McCall trying to find the range to punch up at the bigger man. Lewis pawing with the jab as he did through much of the fight against Phil Jackson in May.
I've already seen the hand of Emmanuel Stewart as far as McCall is concerned. I watched films of McCall. I never saw him throw a left hook, but he did try one already in this fight.
Emmanuel Stewart has worked with McCall during the past couple of weeks. As an assistant trainer and technical advisor, says that his man will show a variety of different styles during the fight tonight to try to confuse Lewis. He thinks Lewis is easily confused.
And Lewis is fighting with his feet very wide apart.
Lewis tried a right hand to the body, not a lot of conviction behind it. Hasn't yet thrown the sharp jab, which is his best. Mostly just sticking it out there. It's been a slow start for Lewis, and McCall seems to be waiting for the big man to try to do something. Lewis misses with the right. McCall gets a right hand to the body inside.
Good counter by McCall. Another right hand to the body by McCall.
And a little left hook there.
Stop. The worst thing that Lewis can do is to try to wrestle with McCall.
Right hand lands for McCall over the top. He misses to the body as Lewis backs away. Now Lewis begins to throw the jab with a little bit more intent.
Dropping that left hand, Lewis. All this wrestling can really sap your stamina, though, and that's, again, McCall has been known to have very, very good stamina.
If the first round is a prototype, so far it's a good one for Oliver McCall. Lennox Lewis hasn't really established anything in round one.
Time!
Look good, baby. Sit down. Move down for me. You're looking good, okay? Fighting a very intelligent fight, and you're taking his big punch away from him in the right hand. You shot it twice, and every time you roll and counter. You caught him with it once, the next time, but you're going to make him quit throwing it if you keep rolling and counter, okay? But when that little counter hook you're doing is working. It's clumsy, but it's working. When he jabs, how you know you're blocking and you're throwing a hook, keep doing it because it's not landing, but it's moving him out of balance. That's right, but you're moving him out of balance when you throw that shot, okay?
This piece of shit out water. I got it. Ready? Okay. Stay with your jab. That's the keys. Oh, come on. Nice and easy there. 10 seconds. Here's the mouthpiece. Stay on the stick. Keep it in the circle. When he's inside, try to catch him with the uppercut coming in. Right?
Lewis threw more left hands and fewer right hands in the first round than we've seen him before, Gil. I thought it was by his own fight plan, but perhaps that's also the fight plan of Stewart.
And you know, Larry, down goes
Lewis, having caught a short left hand inside.
6, 7, 8, 9.
What is this? The WBC's referee has stopped this fight after a count to 9 with Lewis standing in front of him. And we're going to have a riot here. Jose Guadalupe Garcia stopped the fight in the second round. Oliver McCall's going absolutely nuts. The crowd at ringside momentarily stunned. And that's got to be one of the strangest stoppages I ever saw.
Certainly was. He was up at about the count of 5, wobbled a little bit, but then he seemed to be getting himself together. It was for the heavyweight championship of the world.
I can't believe what I just saw, but it's a WBC referee from Mexico. Jose Suleiman is the head of the WBC. He's from Mexico. He is Don King's best buddy. I think that very likely McCall might have finished Lennox Lewis. But Lennox Lewis, as the heavyweight champion, earned the right to be knocked out if that was how it was going to happen.
I count, now out, knockout.
Yeah, you stop the contest.
All right, let's take another look. Gil, you say it was a short right hand inside. I called it a left. But let's take a look at the punch that put Lewis down.
They're just moving around, sparring. Again, I had mentioned there's that right hand right on the button. Down goes Lewis.
Another look.
See, Lewis was fighting with the legs so far apart that he had to reach in with the right hand, and he got beat to the punch.
Well, his detractors have always said he has bad balance. But that's hardly a devastating punch. He was up by the count of 6 and certainly appeared capable of continuing in the fight. Referee Jose Guadalupe Garcia of Mexico City, working his 12th championship fight, according to the literature we're given, with Jose Suleiman, the WBC president, seated at ringside, stops the fight after 1 knockdown in the 2nd round. And with that...
Well, once again, the best laid plans go awry for Lennox Lewis, but this time he has nobody to blame but himself.
Out the window goes the possibility of Lewis versus Bowe in March. Oliver McCall earns 1/3 of the heavyweight championship. Right now, let's go to ring announcer Mike Goodall for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 31 seconds of round 2, the referee has counted out Lennox Lewis, the winner and new WBC Heavyweight Champion of the world, Oliver McCall.
I told you! This way! Give me my belt! I want my belt!
And still in the ring, the aftermath is confusion, chaos, uncertainty as to exactly how this has taken place. Now, we are prohibited here from interviewing either fighter until medical examinations have been conducted by the British boxing authorities' medical examiners. So momentarily, we hope to get a chance to talk to both Lewis and McCall, and I'm sure that Larry Merchant will work as well toward an opportunity to hear from the referee, Jose Guadalupe Garcia. I've never seen him before. Don't know if you have, Larry, but he's just made a huge impression on the sport.
He sure has. You know, there have been some preliminary fights tonight, and we've seen a lot of very, very fast stoppages in some of the preliminary fights tonight. But this is really unusual. I'm not going to say it's unprecedented, but when you have a heavyweight championship fight, the heavyweight champion should have a chance to defend his title almost to the last breath. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this happened very early in the round. Lennox Lewis was hurt. His eyes were glazed. The chances are that Oliver McCall would have gotten to him and perhaps stopped him, most likely stopped him. But I think you have to give the heavyweight champion the benefit of the doubt.
You agree with Larry that a stoppage was possible? Indeed, Larry says probable in this instance?
Absolutely. I think that Lennox Lewis was badly hurt. He did manage to get up at 6. The reason they have a 10 count is for you to have 10 seconds to clear your head. When he went back into action, another few seconds, Lewis probably would have been okay. They should have given Lewis a chance to fight, and also McCall a chance to really prove he's a champion by really finishing Lewis.
You've been around the fight game as long as anybody who's active right now. You ever seen this referee?
Never seen this referee, never.
All right. Let's take another look at the round. We're going to look at it via our handheld cameras in real time and get one more look at the sequence of events that led up to the stoppage of the fight. 31 seconds worth of round number 2.
And you can see Lewis with his legs so wide apart. When he throws that right hand, he has to reach.
And here it comes.
But beat to the punch, reaching in with that right hand. When you get hit, get caught coming in, you really get nailed, and he was nailed.
6, 7,
legs are wobbly,
8,
clearly hurt
9.
at that point. And perhaps it was the fact that he put his body weight on the referee and leaned on the referee without being able to steady himself into an erect position that convinced the referee he should stop it.
Absolutely. He fell right into the referee. As a matter of fact, if the referee stepped aside, I think he would have fell down again.
All right. Maybe that was what led the referee to make his decision. Meanwhile, I'm told that Larry is standing by with the new WBC Heavyweight Champion of the world, Oliver McCall. Larry.
All right, Oliver, congratulations. Was that a move that you had been looking to put over when he started his left to come over with the right?
Well, I talked to Mike Tyson on the phone before I went to fight. He kept on saying, throw left hooks, throw left hooks. Once I saw that I was throwing a good left hook, I knew he was going to try the right hand, because I knew once I hit him a couple of times, he got scared, he started holding on, he saw my power. I was waiting for him to throw the right hand. I was practicing that counter right hand. I counted that right hand, and boom, oops, there it is. But first I would like to say happy birthday to Allison, her 9th birthday, his daughter. I love you. And this was for my grandfather and my father, Henry McCall, and my Jan, my sister. Back down.
Understandably, you're very excited, Oliver. Give us a sense of the fact that you've been a sparring partner for so long. Your best reputation was as a sparring partner for a champion.
Yes.
How difficult was it for you to make a transition this far in boxing?
Well, it's all in the mind. You know, I never was a sparring partner. See, that's what Charles said I was. Even all the guys I sparred with in my life, tell the truth, God knows, I've got the better of the rounds, every guy, from Tyson on down. I've done the helping to get them in shape.
All right. The next
and
question
thanks
is
to Don King, the king of the world, he brought me to the top.
The next question is this. You knocked him down. He gets up at the count of 6. He was wobbly. He was glazed.
He would have got knocked out again.
Probably. But
he would have.
But were you surprised that here in his hometown they stopped it that quickly?
No. Hey. What y'all want me to do, kill a man?
That's right.
See, that's what's wrong now. But like I said, this was the first challenge for not only the heavyweight championship of the world, but between HBO and Showtime. I'm a Showtime fighter. I drew the first blood. I knock out Michael Moore, Riddick Bowe. I come back here. But now I put on my show, so you'll see me again on Showtime, baby.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Oliver. Jim?
All right, Larry, and there you see some of the business of boxing in all of its naked obviousness. Oliver McCall promoting his next television appearance, perhaps on another pay cable service. Well, it's a strange sport, Gil, and you see strange things all the time. You don't want to leap to too many conclusions too fast, but you saw the joy with which Don King embraces his return to a part of the heavyweight championship. It's been a few years, and he's back.
Returned from almost oblivion. Back on top again with the heavyweight champion.
Never count him out. Let's go to Larry Merchant once again, now with Lennox Lewis.
All right, Lennox, give us your version of what happened.
I just got caught with a lucky shot, and the referee seemed to help him along really good.
How dazed, how hurt, how wobbly were you because you looked badly hurt?
I wasn't badly hurt. I was dazed. I got to my feet. I recovered. The referee asked me if I was okay. I nodded yeah. Oliver McCall ain't that good. He's not that good, so don't.
Well, you're not going to convince the people who are out there. He did land a right-hand punch.
He landed a great right-hand punch. He put me on the ground. I tried to get up too fast. I was a little bit wobbly, and all of a sudden the referee just said, "No, that was it."
Did you talk to him? Was he able to communicate with you at all?
The referee couldn't even speak English. When you nod your head, that means yes, you're okay.
All right, let's take a look at this round again, and you describe what happened to you and what your reactions were during it. Did McCall show you anything that you hadn't seen or weren't expecting?
No, not really. You know, Oliver McCall was staying on the outside. He was actually afraid of my jab. At that point there, I was coming in with my right hand. I was trying to land the right hand. All right, he caught me with a good right hand. I was wobbly. Got to my feet.
6, 7.
I was okay.
8, 9.
Put my hands up. The referee didn't even count.
Well, there was a count there, but he was looking closely into your eyes. I'll give him that. Do you feel that, as a heavyweight champion defending your title, that you deserved some consideration for that? This is a major fight, and that he should have given you a chance, say, even to get knocked out?
Totally. I was really surprised at the referee's decision to stop the fight so early. It seemed like a good opportunity for him to stop the fight. Messed up with Don King, Jose Suleiman, so he took advantage of it.
Are you saying, were you aware of his connection to them before the fight? And if so, why would your people allow a Mexican referee who has never refereed a heavyweight championship fight, as far as I know, to be involved here in your hometown?
You have to realize Jose Suleiman is the president for the WBC. So whatever he says goes. He has a lot of influence with all judges and all referees.
Thank you very much. Are we going to see you again, Lennox?
Yes, I may be down, but I'm not out.
Thank you very much, Lennox. Jim?
And it's worth pointing out that no matter how upset he might be, Lewis has to be somewhat circumspect after all. If it weren't for the WBC and its particular political machinations in the sport, Lennox might never have had a heavyweight championship belt to begin with.
Well, that's exactly what happened. But he had to stay with the WBC. Again, we had all WBC officials. Whether they're right or wrong, it was a WBC event.
Yeah. Incidentally, the British Board of Boxing Control will not allow us to interview referee Jose Guadalupe Garcia, so we won't be able to hear from him. And if in fact what Lewis says, that he doesn't speak English, is true, then it might not have gained us all that much. But meanwhile, we do have a chance to talk to one of the men from Lewis's management team, Frank Maloney, standing by now with Larry. Larry.
All right, Frank Maloney, you explained to us, did you protest at all the fact that there was a Mexican referee at this event?
We protested strongly. There was a Mexican referee and a Mexican judge to start with. We had the judge removed, and we protested to our board of control that they should have the referee removed. The board said there was nothing they could do. It was the policy of the WBC. We protested to the WBC strongly. Up until the day before the fight, we were still protesting about the Mexican referee.
Since the WBC, in effect, decreed that Lennox Lewis should be the heavyweight champion, I suppose you live by the sword and you die by the sword.
I suppose that's, yeah. I mean, we were definitely, title was definitely stolen from there. Lennox should have been given the benefit of the doubt and a chance to continue. He was up on his feet with his hands up. He's the champion.
Did you say anything to anybody from the WBC immediately as this happened? Did you try to make any kind of official protest, or will you?
I made a protest to Suleiman himself. Told him exactly what we thought happened and thought how we were stitched up there. We also complained to our board of control, and we're asking them now to take it to official level.
Thank you very much, Frank. Jim and Gil?
All right, thanks a lot, Larry. So out the window, along with a lot of other best-laid plans, goes the chance for Bo Lewis, a rematch of the 1988 Olympic final, the fight which, until a few moments ago, was the one that probably more boxing fans wanted to see than any other potential heavyweight matchup. Next up, Michael Moore against George Foreman in another fight, the validity of which a lot of people question. Beyond that, what do you expect to happen to the business of the heavyweight division with Oliver McCall now holding this belt?
Well, I think a lot of the heavyweights that Larry mentioned are all on the same level. They're all going to be challenging Oliver McCall in the morning.
Yeah, but not fighting him in the morning. In fact, it might be a while. Larry, what do you think is going to happen to the business of the heavyweight division?
I haven't got the foggiest idea. I think that obviously Don King wanted to get a piece of the heavyweight championship back, and he got it. But beyond the politics, I think we ought to make something very, very clear. Oliver McCall did what he did, and he deserves credit. And nothing that we say or that I say takes away from the fact of what he did. We considered him to be a good journeyman prize fighter. He got all of his forces, all of his abilities galvanized for the big opportunity, just as Buster Douglas did in Tokyo on that famous day or night. And he pulled it over, and you have to give him as much credit as you can. It does end in peculiar circumstances, and that's a shame for Oliver McCall, not for Lennox Lewis, because there shouldn't have to be any controversy after he did what he did.
Yeah, McCall's not the first fighter to have exposed Lewis's technical flaws. He's just the one who got the most out of it at this moment.
Yeah, I thought that Lennox Lewis was a little uncharacteristically forceful in this fight and aggressive. He was really trying to make something happen, which is slightly out of his style, I think. Maybe Gil has something to say about that.
Yeah? Do you think that Lewis was fighting the wrong fight?
Yes, I had mentioned that he was fighting with his feet far apart. He was looking to load up with that one big right hand, but when you throw it with your feet far apart, you almost you really are telegraphing the punch, and that's what he did. He telegraphed that right hand, and McCall beat him to the punch. And when you catch a guy coming, he really goes. And, you know, as you say, Larry, I think that the referee may have done Oliver McCall more of a disservice than he did Lennox Lewis, because I really think in the condition that Lewis was in and with the emotion that McCall had, he probably would have stopped Lewis and got a lot more credit for this win than maybe he'll get now.
Any final comments?
Once more, the theater of the unexpected strikes again. I guess the first thing I have to say is that I was in a tiny minority who thought that Lennox Lewis was the real thing, and I guess I am now in a tiny minority who is really surprised at what happened tonight. But hey, hats off. Drink a tall one for Oliver McCall.
Your minority group of believers in Lennox Lewis was smaller than your minority group of people who are surprised by what happened tonight. In fact, I suspect that isn't really a minority group. Well, as Larry said, theater of the unexpected. That's why it's always worth tuning in to see what happens regardless of the odds here on HBO's World Championship Boxing. And the good news is we'll be back with you again 1 week from tonight with a terrific fight in Norfolk, Virginia. Whitaker McGirt, we direct your attention to the unusual start time, 10:15 on the East Coast, 7:15 live on the West Coast. Gil, our viewers know everything about Whitaker. They've seen him so many times. Buddy McGirt's a New York fighter. You're a New York guy. What do you hear about Buddy going into this one?
Well, I'd like to talk about both fighters. You know, a lot of people say that Pernell Whitaker is the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. We may very well be seeing the two best fighters in the world, pound for pound. Couldn't be a better matchup than that.
I hope James Toney's watching. He'll have much to talk about with you the next time he gets a chance to see you.
Anytime.
All right, Gil, we'll look forward to working with you again next Saturday night. Meanwhile, a look back again at what happened here tonight. One of the world shockers of recent years in boxing. 31 seconds into the second round, referee Jose Guadalupe Garcia of Mexico, working his 12th World Championship fight, stops the fight and declares Oliver McCall the WBC World Heavyweight Champion after this knockdown of Lennox Lewis. A befuddled Lewis, as shocked as were his partisans at ringside. Coming up immediately after tonight's